So welcome everybody to this BMS talk, and it's my pleasure to introduce our chair for the evening. That's Marcus Yeo. So Marcus spent his career working for government agencies as a nature conservationist until he retired in 2021. He's had an interest in higher plants and bryophytes since he was a teenager and has undertaken field recording in many parts of the UK. More recently, his interests have expanded to include fungi with a focus on Ascomycetes. So thank you very much, Marcus, for doing this for us tonight, and I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sally, and welcome to everyone online. So many of you will be familiar with the format of these talks. So if you have questions as the talk's proceeding, then please enter them into the chat window as we go along, and then we'll pick those up at the end of the meeting when we'll have a short session for asking and answering questions. So it's my pleasure to introduce Nathan Schoutteten, who's our guest speaker for this evening. He has a very long-standing interest in mycology, with a particular interest in corticioid fungi and heterobasidiomycetes, and this is a passion he got from his grandfather. He has studied biology at Ghent University in Belgium, and following his master's degree a few years ago, he's pursued a PhD at the same university, focused on the biodiversity and evolution of mycoparasitic heterobasidiomycetes. Recently, he started working as a research associate at the University of Hamburg in Germany. Nathan also serves as a board member of the Royal Flemish Mycological Society and is a secretary for one of its divisions. So, Nathan, over to you, and look forward to hearing your talk this evening.
Well, thank you, Marcus, for the introduction, and I'm very happy, and it's an honor to be able to present tonight our beautiful Mycological Society from Flanders to our British neighbors. And I hope that I tonight can inspire some of the British people to also reach out or even become a member of our society and yeah, that the fungal spores of Flemish mycology can spread towards Britain and in the other way around, because we are not so far away from each other. So, but first to start, the mycological landscape in Flanders. So, yeah, I had to start from scratch because I don't have such a presentation ready. So I asked ChatGPT for help, and I asked, give me a map of Belgium with the different regions and add mycology to it, and that's what I got. It's a beautiful map, but yeah, it doesn't say much, and it requires some more information, and that's then what we will do in this talk, because from this you will not learn so much. The only thing I can say, so I'm actually living here in more or less where this beautiful Amanita is. So I'm from this area of Belgium, currently living in Germany, but that aside. So let me shortly give some introduction to Belgium, our very tiny but a very complex country. And in Belgium, we have two very large communities. We have the Flemish-speaking community in the Flemish region and the French-speaking community in the Walloon region. And Brussels is even treated as the capital is treated as a separate territory. And given the different languages in these areas, this also comes with different, more or less, cultural life. And as a consequence, we also have different mycological societies in these areas. For example, in the Flemish region, the society that I'm very happy to introduce tonight is a Royal Flemish Mycological Society, often in Flemish, the Koninklijke Vlaamse Mycologische Vereniging, which is, by the way, since this year also a member mycological association of the International Mycological Association. Then for the capital of Brussels, we have the Cercle Mycologique de Bruxelles, and for the French-speaking part, the Association des Mycologues Francophones de Belgique. But I will not talk about those two other societies tonight. So for tonight, I will introduce the society first with some history and what we do, what are the things that the society does. Also a little bit of what for international interactions the society has, and then I will also talk about mycology at universities and research institutes in Flanders, because you cannot see these separate from each other. But first we go a little bit back in history, especially for Flemish mycology. This was an important milestone, the publication of the Theatrum Fungorum, of het toneel der kampernoeien. Kampernoeien is a very old Flemish word for mushrooms, and this was actually the very first book worldwide that was fully dedicated to mushrooms, and that was written not in Latin, but this was written in the Flemish of these days, which was called the Nederduits, and it gave descriptions of about 40 species of mushrooms and very nice illustrations. There may have been some issues about copyright of these days with the Code d'Ecluse, of which he presumably copied most of his illustrations, but this aside. But anyway, Flanders is rather proud of this historical figure in Flemish mycology, and you will soon see why I introduced you to this guy. But then a little bit about the society. It's really relatively young, so it was only established in 2007 by Ruben Wallijn, and I really had to include his name and his picture, because Ruben was one of the most beloved and most keen Flemish mycologists that was walking around. Unfortunately, he died very soon after he established the society, because before mycology was very fragmented in Flanders, with more or less every province having its own tiny mycological society. But he was such a social and communicative person, and he was traveling to all the different divisions, and he really united them into the Flemish Mycological Society, which is his merit. And you may know him from these books here, Studies in Gallerina, with the nice name Gallerina Flandriae. There are 3 issues, like the 3 volumes of this book, and he's one of the 2 authors. The other author is André de Haan. And you can see these people have really, really good skills in drawing. So the drawings are mostly from André de Haan, the spore drawings. And this is already what I want to tell you. In Flanders, our amateur mycologists, so the society has both professional, but the majority are amateur mycologists, but there are so keen, so specialized, and so good mycologists among them, and it's really it's super nice to work together with them. And of course I should give you a short overview of what our society does. Like, it's probably very similar to the British society, but we have in every province, so every division, every province still has a division, and every division organizes excursions, educational activities. We have one overarching database, which I will show soon. Every year we have a Flemish Mycologist Day, in which we have contributions from the own mycologists, but also invited speakers from abroad. We organize purchases of mycological books, of chemicals for microscopy. We have a mycological library, and our members are we attract many people, from really young to very old, from like professionals, people who just like to go on mushroom walks, but also people who are very specialized in specific groups of fungi and doing excellent microscopy. And then we arrive, of course, at the publications, because our members also publish what they find. They like to write about it. And this is compiled in a newsletter that we have, which is called Sporen. I assume I don't have to translate this, but Sporen is a newsletter, which is what I would say a little bit comparable to field mycology, what the British have. And then we also have Sterbekia, and that's why I introduced the Flemish pioneer Franciscus van Sterbeek. This journal is named after him. And here you can see the very first edition from 61. And only a few things on the cover, but it says verschijnt als er iets te zeggen valt, which means appears when there is something to say. And this is still the philosophy. We publish a Sterbekia volume when we have something to say, something to communicate, but roughly this is once a year. And we allow the people to send contributions in either Flemish or English. Also, this is a policy that we keep. And all the publications that we have from the society, we also have some other things, are all available online. And so please check it out. There are really useful things there. The link is included. The last issues of the last year are behind a lock for the members only, but everything older is available, freely available for everyone. So please have a look and check this out. For example, what we also publish, of course, are checklists. And we have one checklist of Basidiomycota and Myxomycetes. Then we have 3 even of Ascomycota. And we even have a checklist of oomycetes, which are not really fungi, but of course we have people who also like oomycetes. So everything included. And for the Basidiomycetes and Myxomycetes, we have the updates in progress. So hopefully this will appear rather soon, also available online. And this is a Funbell. We actually paid for a completely new database this year. Funbell is a curated database of fungal occurrences and fungal species in Flanders, but in Belgium, so also in the French-speaking region. And this was actually a very important choice that we had to make, because a database nowadays costs a lot of money. We're talking about thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of euros. And then the question is, okay, should we just give up our own database and team up with existing databases like observations.org, which actually was discussed. But then the problem is, in databases like observations.org, everything is entered, and also maybe collections that are identified by ops identify or artificial intelligence. And we decided, no, we want a database that only contains confirmed identifications by members of the society. And these data do then have some quality label, and that's why we decided to keep this database and to make it new and to make it future-proof. And we are very proud of that. And please also check this out if you want to have verified fungal occurrence data. Use this. I don't want to say that there is no curation on observations.org. That's waarnemingen.be. In Flemish, there is also curation, but there is much more coming in there and also more doubtful things. And then I shortly want to talk about what our society is doing, how it interacts with other societies. And the most logic for that is, of course, that we look to our neighbors in the north, to the Netherlands, because they have the same, like a similar language, or the same language according to what who you ask. And one of the ways how we collaborate is about a language, because fungi have Latin names, but I'm very sure in Great Britain that you also have British or English names for fungi. And in Belgium and the Netherlands, we also have Dutch names for fungi. And since we have 2 mycological societies, we decided it's a good idea to have some coordination. So there is a commission of Dutch names for fungi, which is abbreviated as CNN, the Commissie Nederlandse Namen. And the policy of the society says for every fungal species and every there should be one decided Dutch name. And we do have a set of rules. We also do have some sets of exceptions, but roughly, so the commission comprises people from both Netherlands and Belgium, so that both language groups are represented. And usually there is one meeting each year in which we deal with all the newly recorded species or species that are still waiting for an agreed upon Flemish or Dutch name. And then a second way how we interact, especially with the Dutch Mycological Society, is for the study of specific fungal genera, fungal groups. And excuse me. Especially for the brown sport genera like Cortinarius, there was already this publication, which was mainly by Flemish mycologists, but also with contributions from the Netherlands. And now hot off the press is the latest volume of the Flora Agaricina neerlandica, which is also about Cortinarius. And this was really a common project of Flemish and Dutch mycologists. And this can be ordered there with Canduso. And here you can see two Flemish mycologists actually, but working in the Netherlands, who are here collecting mycenas for the preparation of the next volume of the Flora Agaricina, which will be Mycena, and another volume will be about Russulas. And then a project which is very close to my own heart is the Fragmo project, because I'm one of the participants in this, and my main interest is a jelly fungi of Heterobasidiomycetes. And in the first phase, we actually compiled identification keys to all genera and species of these jelly fungi in Dutch, in Flemish. And slowly we're translating it into English. There are even Germans who already made German versions of it. So this is already getting some international attention. And now we also started with barcoding of all Heterobasidiomycetes in Belgium and the Netherlands, and making such description forms. But yeah, this is still a long shot. We need quite some more time for that. But our collections that we have from Belgium and Netherlands, we also use them actively in scientific research of revisions of these genera and groups of jelly fungi. And then in second part, I would like to introduce mycology at universities and institutes. And in Flanders, we do have 5 universities, but mycology is only playing at Ghent University a very big role, as you will see. The society has strong links with the University of Antwerp and the University of Ghent, and it's actually in Antwerp that we have the official seat of the society. And in Hasselt and Brussels, there is some research towards mainly Swilius and Lacaria to heavy metals accumulations and zinc transporters, but I will not elaborate on that. And also in Antwerp, there are no specific mycology courses, no specific research. It's only touched very briefly in the botany course. But since last year, there was actually the question towards the society if the society could organize some introduction to mycology for the biology students, and this was very popular. More than 40 students voluntarily attended this, and this is going to be continued. But I'm very happy and proud actually to show the role of mycology and the society in Ghent. So I studied myself in Ghent, and mycology research here is at least in 4 faculties. We have multiple courses like mycology, an introduction, Basidiomycota. Mycology also appears as a subject in other courses like microbial ecology, taxonomy, systematics. And there is for several of the courses a strong link with the Mycological Society, as I will show. Just to talk about the veterinary sciences, they also play really a world-leading role in various chytridiomycosis research topics. For example, towards Batrachochytrium, which is a fungal disease of fire salamanders, and they are really doing groundbreaking research towards the epidemiology and infection mechanisms of these fungi. And this, yeah, this is a very strong research group towards this. But then very close to my heart is actually the research group Mycology, which was already founded in the 1970s by Professor Paul van der Veken. And he frequently organized mushroom exhibitions, as you can see a poster here. And here you can see one of his friends, which was actually is my grandfather, Joseph Schoutteten. And it was him who transferred to me the passion for corticoids and jelly fungi. And here they are discussing something at one of the many mycological forays that were organized in Belgium. Currently, the mycology research group is the head of this group is Professor Mieke Verbeke. And Mieke Verbeke, that's a fantastic person. This is like, the mycological mother of many, many, many Flemish mycologists, as I will show later. And she's very strong and good in all kinds of fungi, but especially in the milk caps, in Lactarius, Lactiflus, and several other related genera of the Russulaceae, I would say. And she has written several books, several papers on this topic. She's one of the authorities on this. And one of the things I think she loves the most is organizing the biannual International Russulalis workshop, which she organizes with her colleague from Slovakia. This is Slavomir Adamczyk, and he is mainly interested in Russula. And they are really trying to unite international professional mycologists and amateur mycologists with very strong interest in Russulalis, in Russula, Lactarius, and related fungi. And they started in 2010 in Belgium. And as you can see, so they went to Germany, Slovakia, Italy, Spain, Sweden, and this year even to Estonia. This is a group picture of Estonia. Unfortunately, I missed this event. I would have loved to be there, but unfortunately not. But this is something I can really, really recommend, and these are so amazing meetings. This is, for example, the meeting in 2016 in Italy in Piombino, and like the types of habitats that we visit. This is a cork forest. Like everybody is looking at russulas and typical mushrooms. I'm collecting weird sticks with some crust fungi. But why I included this is because I met two very nice people there. This is, as you can see, Geoffrey Kibbe and Mario Tortelli. I guess most of the participants know them. And this was actually the start of a good friendship with Geoffrey. And after meeting him there, I went several times to Great Britain to visit him. And we collected fungi in different locations in Epping Forest and all around London. These were amazing visits to England. And what I want to say here is that, like, if you are interested, if you like Russulas, Lactariuses, or other fungi, please check out this website. It's organized every 2 years, and everybody who has this interest is welcome. You're more than welcome to join. You don't have to be a professional. I mean, if you want to specialize in these fungi, please join. This is really worth it, and this is mycological time of your life. This is, for example, in Spain. 2 years ago, this was also amazing. There's of course excursions, there's microscopy, there are presentations, and even in Spain we got introduction to a druid. This was such an amazing evening as well. Check this out. And of course, mycology at universities is not only going for fieldwork, it's not only research, it's also teaching. And I think this is what we can be most proud of, because unfortunately, I noticed that this is really unique. Like, you don't find this in the other universities in Belgium, but you also almost don't find it at universities abroad. A real mycology course or several real mycology courses in which students are really like introduced to all the dark secrets, all the beauties of mycology, all the facets. And this is the cover of the course. I really love it. If you are interested in this link, you can even find the formal description of the course, what it comprises. But like the main points that I want to mention is that like this mycology course, it's about 150 hours in total, obligated for all biology students. They get it in the second year. And in Belgium, our semesters always run from September to December, is a winter semester, and then the summer semester is from February to June. Mycology is obviously in the winter semester because mushrooms are growing then, or at least the majority of them. And students, we are really engaging them in excursions and microscopy, and also describing fungi. So they really get hands-on, and they really love it. Like on the excursions, sometimes they even get dressed as a mushroom. So that's the level of enthusiasm that we see. And second Bachelor of Biology, this is about 70 students, 60, 70 students. So this is also rather labor intensive, but still we manage. And this means every student a microscope, every student material to microscope. They should have more or less also the same material. And of course, like here, for example, is Professor Mieke Verbeken giving the introduction to what they will do in the practical session. And they do get one practical session a week. This is an afternoon. The theory is 3 hours in the morning. And this is a concept that is really like, they like it, they are enthusiastic about it, and they really get fascinated by mycology. They get fascinated by mushrooms, and this is really so important, like planting the seed or planting the spore into the brain of these young students, of these people, and like they then really come to ask for topics for the bachelor thesis, for the master thesis to do in mycology, because they really want to do something with mycology. And that's also the reason why we have several really young people in the society, because these students, they really get in contact already during their education. And this is really a beautiful strength that we have in Ghent. And I'm very happy to talk about this. And I hope to inspire other people to help. And I can only hope that this is also organized in the UK and abroad. And of course, this teaching, especially this teaching, is not possible without the involvement of the Mycological Society. Because the several amateur mycologists, they really come to help with supervising, but also, for example, here in the last practical session of the mycology course, this is actually the applied mycology. So students can choose one or several mushrooms that they have to turn into a food or drink application. And then, of course, they prepare it for the entire group. We also do have amateur mycologists joining this. And then they tell something, they have to educate the others. What is the role of the fungus in this type of food or drink? And then for the master students, we have the elective course Basidiomycota, where they really get into the diversity of Basidiomycota, and they really apply microscopy together with the amateur mycologists in special sessions that we call Salon du Champignon. And this is really enthusiasming, and students are enthusiastic about this because they really do the microscopy in order to identify the mushrooms. And this is this is a skill that they really like. They also learn how to use all this identification literature, the books, the articles, and also very important here, the amateur mycologists are really happy that they can share and spread their knowledge, because often they are very specialized in a specific group of fungi. They can now really pass it on to these young people who are really enthusiastic. And if there's one guy that I really want to mention is here, the guy here, but the same here and the same here in the field collecting shit. And he's really, this guy is special. Jacques Lenoir is the name. He is really specialized in all kind of coprophilous fungi, and he finds every year so many new species, so many special species, and he's very happy to also share this with students. And we actually have now bachelor thesis dissertations, master thesis dissertations about coprophilous fungi that are inspired and partly also supervised by him. And this is amazing to really have this interaction. And of course, we take the master students in the fields and to collect the fungi that they will then later identify together with the amateur mycologists. And the exam of this course of Basidium mycota is actually the winter symposium, in which they present a recent research paper to the members of the Mycological Society. And so they have to balance between um, bringing it in detail, but also understandable. And sometimes maybe the audience knows more than them. So this is always a very nice interaction that we have. And everything, of course, only possible because of our very enthusiastic Professor Mieke Verbeken. And but I can also say that her pupils, her students that studied with her, they are also spreading out all over Europe. So Danny Halewaters, he recently, some weeks ago, actually started a research group at the Czech Academy of Sciences, Jorinde. She was her first PhD student, if I'm right, and she is now actually the one of the few, or even the only professional mycologist in the Netherlands at Naturalis Biodiversity Center. Myself, I went to the University of Hamburg, continuing research on jelly fungi, and also last week, Ruben, he defended a PhD on Russulas. Some months ago, last week he moved for a job to Stuttgart, to the Natural History Museum. And then Michiel, Glenn, and Luca, they are current PhD students. And also the research topics are very frequently in collaboration with other institutes, like this is with Michiel and Glenn are together with the Institute for Nature and Forestry Research. Luca is together with the Botanic Garden of Meissen. And then shortly, so Ruben, he did very nice research towards Russula compacti group, so the black and white Russulas. So he revised several genera and species complexes in there. So I would say check also these results out. Most of them are rather fresh. And Glenn, he is also doing something very nice. He is actually looking at fungal communities on decaying beach. But not only on the fruit body-based inventories, but also about the application of Oxford nanopore sequencing for monitoring approaches. And I think this is going to render very nice results. So also stay tuned for this. And then to finish, I will like to introduce some other institutes in which mycology is an important component. And this is especially in the Botanic Garden of Meissen, which is a former National Botanic Garden of Belgium. So the abbreviation is BR of Brussels. And I do introduce this to you because they do have some resources that may be really useful for you as well, for British mycologists. So the herbarium collections are fully digitized and accessible on this web link. And there are about 4 million specimens, of course. Unfortunately, not 4 million fungi. But there are many, many fungal specimens that you can find in there, including all their metadata. The website is fully in English. And another very nice resource is the library catalog. The Botanic and Mycological Library of Botanic Garden in Meissen is really huge, and it's also fully online searchable. And if you have a specific article or book chapter that you need, you just write them an email and you negotiate what is most feasible to get it. But to my experience, they are very happy. If you give them some time, they are very happy to make a scan for you and send it to you via WeTransfer, a PDF. And there is really no single work that I ever needed that was not in their library. So remind this and also remember it and use it if you come across literature that you need. And the ongoing research, of course, they also have ongoing mycology research. They have one person working on myxomycetes, and they actually have they maintain a website completely dedicated to myxomycetes. They also have they mainly work on African fungal diversity and ethnomycology, which is also a very nice research field. And there's also one mycologist very dedicated to Labubiniales, which are the insect-associated ascomycetes that some of you may know. And then the last one that I would like to show to you, but I will not say much, is the BCCM. This is a Belgian Coordinated Culture Collection. This is actually an overarching initiative that is gathering culture collections of various organisms into one structure that is funded by the federal research agency. And for fungi, actually, two large collections are applicable. This is in the French-speaking part of Belgium at the Université Catholique de Louvain, Louvain-la-Neuve. There is a very large fungal collection, mainly of all types of fungi. And in Brussels, at the Health Research Institutes and Cienzano of the federal government, there is a collection of medically relevant fungi, both for human and animal health. But with the BCCM, the Mycological Society has only little or almost non-interaction. Whereas with the Botanic Garden in Brussels, we do have a good interaction with them as well. And with this, I hope I shared some useful information with you. I hope you got a little bit of an understanding of the mycological landscape in Flanders. And that is, I hope you got some more information than ChatGPT rendered initially. And with this, I would like to close the presentation. And I will stop sharing.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Nathan. That was a fascinating talk, and it really is interesting to hear about how Mycological Society in another part of Europe operates. So there's quite a lot of similarities with what we do in the UK, but also quite a lot of differences. So we've had a few questions in the chat, which I will deal with first. I've got loads of questions of my own, but I will defer to other people first. So you just bear with me. The first question we've got is from Mike Sukai. I hope I pronounced your surname correctly, who works for Biotalis, which is a biotech company based in Ghent, working on the control of fungal plant pathogens. And he's asking whether, in addition to the engagement with the classical mycologists in Flanders, does the KCMV actively engage with fungal plant pathologists working in Flanders?
That's a good question. I know that we have several members of the society that are really specialized in plant pathogens, but I also know that there are people looking at these plant pathogenic fungi and oomycetes, which are not a member of the Mycological Society. So it's like two groups or like, and I don't know if there is much interaction between all these people. So we definitely do have some people within the society, but not everybody looking at these plant parasites, and there are quite a few of them are actually members of the Flemish Mycological Society. But yeah.
Thank you. Then we have a question from Carol Hobart, who is asking about your society library. And she's interested in where the library is kept and how is it maintained?
Yeah. This is actually kept physically in the University of Antwerp. So it's the University of Antwerp is actually offering us a room um, that the local division for the province of Antwerp can use for the educational meetings. So they are doing the microscopy there, they are doing the talks there. We also actually have the board meetings of the society in Antwerp because the official seat is there. And in this room, we have several cabinets in which we store the library and boxes. And there is also one person that is sorting, organizing the entire library, and is also physically present when the library is open. There are specific opening hours, and that people can go there and take books on loan or check specific works. We also have several journals there, not only books. We also have journals that we are subscribed to, and that people can consult or take on a loan. Yeah, that's how we manage this. And also, Flanders is not too big, so
Yeah.
it's somehow always close by.
And
Although Antwerpen is a mess to get there by car, but yeah,
how many people actually use the library?
that's a good question, and I don't know.
Okay.
Like most people that use the library are, of course, the people that go um, to the microscopy sessions organized in Antwerpen because it's physically there, and for them it's very convenient to use the library during the microscopy sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest group of people that use it.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then another question from Stuart Skeets, who's asking how large is your society? So how many members do you have?
I guess we have around 340 members, if I'm right. 330, maybe 350 max. I think that's a, yeah, I think between 330 and 340
Yeah.
members.
That's pretty impressive. That's
Yeah, I also find like yeah, Flanders, well, don't forget we are about 6 million Flemish.
yeah.
So it is densely
Um,
populated. Yeah.
I'm got yeah, we'll see any more questions, please people put them in the chat. I mean, a few points I picked up on when you were talking about how your society works, and there are interesting parallels with what the British Mycological Society does. So you talked a bit about Funbell, your database,
Mhm.
and you know we've got the fungal records database of Britain and Ireland, um, which has I think about 2 million records on it now. And one of the challenges we're facing is how to verify records. And so I think you said that you only accept records that are confirmed or checked by members of the society. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like to enter data in Funbell, you need an account of Funbell, but basically every member gets an account for Funbell. So every member can add fungal records to Funbell, and of course it's the responsibility of this member um, that it's correct. Of like, I mean, there's not a mushroom police that is checking every every record. No, I mean, we are all volunteers, and this is from the people for the people. And I mean, we organized ourselves to have such a database, but of course, like you have to trust each other, and I mean,
Yeah.
everybody makes mistakes. So I mean, there's probably plenty mistakes in the database, but that's just life. But less mistakes than in other databases, I would say, in which
Yeah.
everything gets incorporated. So, mm,
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, you're right. You'll never get things that are 100% correct. And
wow. And also in taxonomy, it's often such a gray zone. What is right? What I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
even when things are barcoded, it's sometimes so doubtful when the morphology is so deviating. Or
Yeah. Exactly. And do you have any idea who actually uses the data in the database? I mean, is it used for conservation management? Is it used to
yeah, so I would say mostly it's used by the members themselves to get an idea of how widespread is a species, and we do have ferry, so we paid for this new version and upgrade, and now we can really get reports of which species were recorded where and when, and we can choose ourselves how these reports look like, which data we want to have included, what not. And we also now have functionalities to upload pictures, description forms, all kinds of information with the record. So you can, like, the members can now really use it as a personal database of their own, all their observations. And this is really nice. And from time to time, we actually do get requests by mostly by these, we call them study bureaus, like you know, I don't know how to translate study companies who make these studies for a lot of money for governments, and then they need data, and they, like, from them we do then get some payments. But I think if we get one such a request a year, that's already a lot.
Yeah. So a follow-up question on the database from David Yohalam, asking whether there's a requirement that there's a voucher specimen kept at a herbarium before the record is entered onto the database.
For the record, I think you can include the herbarium number, but I don't think it's an obligation.
Yeah.
But this I'm not sure.
Yeah, that sounds sensible.
But for species to be included in the checklist, for specific species, we do have the requirement of a herbarium voucher. Otherwise, it's not accepted in the checklist.
Yeah, that sounds sensible. And another question on the database, follow up from Stuart, asking, how did you fund the database? Where did you get the money from? And have you got any
Very
spare?
simple, very simple. Member contributions, and we don't have much spare.
No.
Just, yeah, I mean, so now I heard rumors that they also want to have a new database in the French-speaking part of Belgium, and let's see if it's possible to team up and to combine forces, or if they also want to fund their own database. But things in Belgium are usually a little bit more complex than in other countries.
Right. So I mean, it's very interesting for me to hear about some of your collaboration with other societies in parts of Europe. And I guess from our point of view, we were talking a bit just before your talk started, and I was saying that the BMS hasn't held a meeting abroad for a number of years. But what do you think about potential collaboration with the British Mycological Society? Is that something we should be exploring?
I
Have
think
joint forays?
yeah. I think in Belgium we also do have venues for nice fungal forays for multiple days. Like last year, we went to the south of Belgium in the French-speaking part. So, which the venue there was completely renovated, and it's an amazing place, and we got so many special fungal records there. And actually, so we do have an informal, like, we do have the Cristella working group, which is a group of people looking at ascomycetes and Aphilophorales, and myxomycetes, so everything that doesn't look like a typical mushroom. And we have people interested from Netherlands and Belgium who teamed up in a working group called Cristella. And but these are not officially linked to the Flemish nor the Dutch Mycological Society. And like since recently it is somehow linked to the Dutch for insurance for the insurance, but the idea is that it's like a spontaneous gathering of Flemish and Dutch mycologists, and we switch between Belgium and Netherlands. We go once in autumn, once in spring, for a 3-day foray, and we get always so many nice collections there. And actually tomorrow most of us leave to to the Netherlands, to one of the islands in the North Sea, where we will have the next autumn meeting until Sunday.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. And I think we should all be looking for opportunities for collaboration, both between societies in different countries and also between different disciplines. Someone's already mentioned the collaboration with plant pathologists, and I think that can only be beneficial.
Yeah, and I think the British, like I mean, the Flemish Mycological Society would be very happy to welcome the British for a foray in Belgium. So
Well,
you're welcome.
thank you. We may very well take you up on that at some point, because I'm sure there would be interest in holding a foray there. So just looking at the chat, we got a couple more questions from Carol. So first one she's got is just asking how many people actually attend your forays?
This is really dependent on the division. So every division of the Flemish society, so every province organizes forays of like usually on Thursday or Saturday. And this depends on the activity of the division and also a lot of coincidence. But the real multi-day forays are always around 20-25 people. And this Christella group, this joint group of Flemish and Dutch mycologists, this is also around usually 25. Like last year when we organized it in Belgium, I think we were even close to 30 participants. So these are quite good numbers, I would say.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, we tend to get about that number, maybe more at our spring and autumn forays, probably up to 40, maybe even 50 at the autumn forays.
Mhm.
And then another question from Carol, a very, very timely question. This, so asking whether your journals and newsletters, how are they produced? Are they only online and available electronically, or do you produce paper copies for members?
That's a very good question, and I wonder how many board meetings we have talked about this already, and how many times decisions have been, revisited or put up for discussion again. So currently, so the current situation is that the scientific journal Sterbekia is printed for everybody, but we do not send the copies around. So it's everybody's responsibility to collect his copy at the usually at the place where every division organizes the microscopy sessions.
Yeah.
And Sporen, so the newsletter is digital.
Right.
This is digital, but especially we have some old members that actually don't even have or like computers, or they don't have email, or they really don't want it. And these people are also very much welcome just to say this, and we are sending them a printed copy of Sporen, but in black and white print.
Yeah, we're having exactly this debate at the moment about field mycology, which is the equivalent, as you said, of your newsletter. And we realise that, even though we're aiming to move towards something that's largely online, we realise that there are quite a lot of people who still prefer to have paper copies, and
Yeah.
we need to be able to provide people with those.
Yeah, but we are actually discussing this, and several ideas are on the table, and I also know that the same discussion is going on in the Dutch Mycological Society, and they even did a big polling. They organized a big poll for all the members in the society with several scenarios and options, and they are trying to make conclusions out of that. But it's true that also for them, they print and send it around by post, and this is consuming most of their annual income. And if you also have to fund a database and a website and organize activities, then you need to be pragmatic with
Yeah, difficult choices to make.
yes, exactly.
Right, there's more questions coming in. So Stuart's asking, how many people attend a microscopy meeting, and are microscopes provided?
In Ghent, so in Ghent, the society actually is allowed to use the microscopes of the university. So the literature is provided, the microscopes are provided. We do ask the people to bring their preparation material and the mushrooms, and if possible also their chemicals, because we do have a large amount of Congoret and Meltzers for the students' practicals, but of course the more exotic chemicals we don't have so many yeah, bottles of. So ideally they should bring it, and I don't know how they do it in the other divisions. Yeah, this I cannot say.
Okay. And another question from Carol asking, what is the subscription for the society? How much do people pay?
It used to be 23 euros until this year, each year.
Yeah.
So which would be maybe about 20 pounds.
Yeah, that's
But we decided this year to raise this, and honestly, I forgot.
no, don't worry, don't worry.
I think
If
it's
someone asks me what the British Mycological
but
was,
it's not much. I think we raised it to mm, was it 27 euros or
yeah,
like 30 euros? I mean,
yeah.
it's a
It's a
very
bet.
slight increase. Like
Yeah, yeah,
nothing shocking.
yeah. Right, and right, more questions coming in. So on the theme of joining the society, Mike is asking, can you join online?
Online for mm,
Can you join the society online? I presume
you you can
maybe.
join the society online, yeah, definitely. But
Yeah,
of course, most of the activities are organized in person. During COVID, we of course have to
yeah,
had to experiment with online events, but like we deliberately organize most um, meetings in person to get the people together, because what is really important is that the human contact of mycology to really get together, exchange the collections, exchange information, to talk about it, and to they uh, this is the social aspect is actually extremely important in mycology, and that's also why you have a society. So I'm also a big advocate for having in-person meetings and make the people meet.
yeah. I completely agree with that. Yes, it's something we don't always do enough of anymore. And finally, this isn't so much a question as an observation from David, saying that you mentioned that the Flemish and Dutch are trying to codify the common language names. And he's saying that in ethnomycology, it's often considered informative to record and retain all common names, but to use the Linnaean nomenclature for communication purposes. So, yeah, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, so there is a document with the with the procedures and the rules that are applied, and sometimes we may have the situation that there is a, a name in common use in Netherlands, but a different one in Flanders.
Yeah,
And then if this is really a commonly used name, then this is respected. And of course, like the baseline is of course, or like the main aim is to have somehow a uniform system, and that there is not too much ambiguity. But
yeah,
you also should honor to some extent the charm of traditions, and that's also why we meet and make. I mean, every species has its own short discussion, and everything is always discussable. And also, it's not only the commission meeting and deciding. So once after the commission has had a meeting, the list of decisions is actually published on the websites of the Flemish and the Dutch Mycological Society, emailed around with a time frame of several weeks or even months that the members can react and can complain. and
Yeah.
ask for revisions. So it's not just a group of 5 or 6 people deciding and that's it. No, no. Everything is up for discussion.
Very democratic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, okay. Right. I think probably we should wrap things up now,
Mhm.
Nathan. So thank you ever so much for your talk. As I say, it's fascinating to hear of the work of your society, and as I said, to see the ways you do things in similar ways to what we do in the UK, but in different ways in some ways. So thank you very much for devoting your time to give such an interesting talk.
Thank you
And
so much for the invitation. That's an honor.
we may well take you up on your offer at some point to come over. And
Absolutely more than welcome. That's
thank you very much.
okay. Bye bye.
Night.